The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
It's a horrible thing, Nobody can even believe it, such a thing. That much water that fast. Without a dam break, you'd think a dam would have to break to have it, so.
President Trump on the ground in Texas for an in-person briefing 1 week after disastrous flooding. The careful recovery efforts happening now. Trade talks, or take it or leave it. Trump's tariff deadline fast approaches. Where things stand with America's allies. And just shy of 1 million Ford trucks slated for recall. Who is impacted and why Ford says they don't have answers for what drivers can do about it. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. Thank you for joining us on your Friday. I'm Dee Dee Gatton, and we begin as it has been 1 week since extreme floods devastated Texas Hill Country. The death toll continues to rise, with officially more than 120 people confirmed dead. Still, more than 160 people are missing. Crews remain on the ground conducting search and recovery efforts right now. Community members are trying to clean up their homes, or what's left of them. One Kerrville resident on the Guadalupe River describes a harrowing scene of 7 bodies being found on his property. Ricky Ray Robertson's cabin home was washed away, but he's more emotional about the human toll.
What numbers? You know, they're little girls and men and mothers and fathers, and what is this? You know, a big square box full of stuff, you know, that I can easily rebuild.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump visited the Texas Hill Country earlier today.
And it unleashed a catastrophic flooding as most residents were asleep in their beds. A very dark evening with a lot of lives, a lot of young angels at the Girls Christian Summer Camp, known as Camp Mystic, a legendary camp, a camp that people would want to go to from all over the country.
Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with all of those impacted. The National News Desk Emma Allen reports that the president's visit comes as he defends his administration's response.
The president and first lady landed in the Texas Hill Country town of Kerrville, about an hour northwest of San Antonio. People lined the route his motorcade took to the town's expo hall.
What happened over the weekend was completely devastating, and seeing the support that everybody coming and pouring down, this town is full of just help, and it brings hope, you know. The
president met with first responders, families affected by the tragedy, and both local officials and Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We just visited with incredible families that, I mean, look, they've been devastated. They lost their child or 2 children, and just hard to believe what, I've never seen anything like it, a little narrow river that becomes a monster.
That monster has claimed the lives of at least 121 people, while more than 160 remain missing.
All across the country, Americans' hearts are shattered. I had to be here as president. First lady wanted to be here, and all the beautiful souls. And we're filled with grief and devastation. It's the loss of life, and unfortunately, they're still looking.
I'm Emma Allen reporting.
Sinclair and the Salvation Army are joining forces to help provide support and relief for the victims of the Texas floods. If you want to give, just scan that QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com. 100% of your donation goes directly to Texas flood relief efforts. Thank you so much for your support. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for any information to identify this person right here who appeared to point and possibly discharge a weapon at federal ICE agents. It happened yesterday in Camarillo, California. An anti-ICE protest turned violent as agents shot tear gas towards the crowd. These rioters, meanwhile, were throwing rocks back at the federal officers as ICE agents made a raid of a state-licensed marijuana farm that does violate federal law. ICE said they had a warrant for the arrest of illegal migrants working at the farm. CBP officials say the farm was under investigation for child labor violations. Today, a DHS spokesperson told Fox News at least 9 unaccompanied migrant children were found there. President Trump says this is a priority of the administration.
As you know, 300,000 children are missing. right? 300,000 under Biden. We've already gotten back 10,000 of those children, and we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands.
Meanwhile, Americans are split as you take a look right here politically when it comes to viewing President Trump's immigration policies. This according to a new Gallup poll. 85% of Republicans approve or strongly approve. 97% of Democrats oppose. More than 80% strongly disapproving of the president's handling on immigration. Independents also not in favor. 69% combined disagree. Lawyers for Kilmar Abrego Garcia back in court again for another hearing. A judge was ready to release Abrego Garcia from a Tennessee jail before his human trafficking trial, but agreed to keep him there over concerns ICE will detain, then deport him to a different country. The DOJ says they haven't decided yet where to send him if released. A lawyer for Abrego Garcia says the case never should have gotten this far.
It's been very clear from the get-go that the government is trying to make an example out of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's not clear why, but it's clear that that's what they're trying to do.
The judge is also considering a request to order the government to send him to Maryland instead to prevent attempts to deport him again. The plea deal for the alleged architect of the 9/11 terror attacks has been thrown out. A federal appeals court says the deal that would have allowed Khalil Muhammad to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty is invalid. Prosecutors supported the deal, citing a risk of disclosing CIA torture secrets at trial. Critics blasted the deal when it was announced, saying KSM should face capital punishment. He's been held at Guantanamo Bay since 2006. A new poll commissioned by Democrats shows the party has an uphill climb trying to win back voters. National correspondent Matt Gelka reports from Washington.
Democrats are still figuring out the way forward, but the path is anything but certain. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer swears his party is all moving in the same direction.
The bottom line is Democrats are united. We are fighting the high costs that American people pay.
But the base isn't satisfied with what they believe is a lack of fight within the party. Axios reports constituents have told members of Congress they need to be willing to get shot when standing up to Trump administration policies. And Schumer's version of fighting against the big beautiful bill in Congress has been skewered by late-night shows.
This is not a big beautiful bill at all. That is why I moved on the floor to strike the title. It is now called The Act.
Are you trying to suck? Is that what this is?
A new poll commissioned by Democratic super PAC Unite the Country shows voters disillusioned with the Democratic brand, seeing it as a party that's woke, weak, and out of touch.
It doesn't matter whether, for instance, I believe that the party is too weak or too woke. I personally don't, but I have one vote. And this is the perception of the voters that we need in order to win elections moving forward. You have to meet voters where they are.
The PAC's CEO, Steve Schale, says the losses among certain demographics, including white males and minority voters that had previously strongly supported Democrats, have been brewing since prior to 2024. He says Democrats across the board need to get back to making affordability the focus for voters.
There are examples, whether it's Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, who showed that you can fight for the most vulnerable, but still make it very clear that your interests are in economic issues. And I think that's where we need to get back to.
And one of the big splits the party is currently dealing with, Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani's New York City mayoral candidacy and whether or not to back him.
And Matt, as Democrats try to get on the same page here, did the poll give them any signs for optimism?
Well, yeah, the polling wasn't just about the Democratic Party, even though they're grappling with some of their woes right now. The poll showed that voters weren't exactly thrilled with Republicans either, with traits including corruption, racist, and bullies being at the top of how voters perceived that party. For Democrats, that means there's still an opportunity to win back voters if they get organized.
Live from Washington, D.C., Matt Gelka, thank you so much. An investigation in Baltimore continues into what sent 27 people to the hospital yesterday with drug overdoses. Several victims were unconscious when found by authorities. 7 people are in critical condition, 15 in serious condition, but there have been no fatalities right now. There is no confirmation on what caused these overdoses. Baltimore's mayor urging residents to come forward if they know more about what happened.
The police department continues to investigate the scene and the surrounding neighborhoods, focusing on the source of the drugs themselves. And as a reminder to everyone, Good Samaritan laws are in effect, and folks can seek medical care without fear of arrest. So please, if you may have been infected or have information, please call 911.
Teamsters union members from Boston have flown into Washington state to support and give more visibility to a Republic Services strike in King and Snohomish counties. Trash collectors and other workers walked off the job on Wednesday, halting trash pickup for the last 3 days. No negotiations are currently scheduled for a new contract. Last week, sanitation workers in Philadelphia went on strike for a week before ending their work stoppage earlier this week. Coming up next year, where tens of millions of people are at risk for severe storms and how travel is being impacted. Also, what we've just learned about a possible meeting between President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Then, the staggering number of human trafficking victims in Florida as revealed in a brand new report. We'll be right back in 90 seconds. Right now, heavy storms are hitting the Midwest from Omaha all the way to Chicago right there. At least 20 million Americans there under thunderstorm alerts. Tornado warnings are in effect over Davenport, Iowa, all the way to Rock Island, Illinois right here. Flood watches in effect for eastern Iowa and western Illinois. Scattered showers and thunderstorms are also expected throughout the night in the southeast. Now, these storms are impacting travel really nationwide. When you take a look right here, more than 5,000 flights into or out of the U.S. have been delayed today, with more than 370 cancellations. The airport worst hit, Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. Also, more than 25% of their flights impacted, with almost 200 cancellations, 700 delays into or out of the airport. As we look ahead to tomorrow and Sunday, heavy rain is expected over the eastern half of the country from Texas to New York. More than 50 million people each day expected to see bad weather. But these rains are also bringing renewed flood watches to New Mexico and central Texas, as both areas are still reeling from flooding tragedies since last Friday. As much as 5 inches of rain could fall in isolated areas before the weekend is over. We are tracking it all. President Trump ending the week without any new announcements of trade deals, as members of his economic team suggested would happen by their July 9th deadline. Instead, Trump is telling countries of their new tariffs set to start August 1st. The National News Desk, Atra El-Nashar reports.
It was meant to be a week marked with a deluge of trade deals.
So I think we're going to see a lot of deals very quickly.
Instead, President Trump unilaterally informing countries through letters and Truth Social posts of their new tariff levels effective August 1st.
The deals are mostly my deal to them.
One of the latest, blanket 35% tariffs on Canadian goods. In addition to trade grievances, the president accuses Canada of failing to stop the flow of fentanyl through their shared border. According to U.S. Customs and Border Patrol's own data, fentanyl flowing through the northern border accounts for less than 0.1% of total U.S. fentanyl seizures between 2022 and 2024.
I think it was fairly well received, but it's what we need. So we'll see what happens.
Prime Minister McCartney says Canada has made progress to stop the scourge of fentanyl and will continue defending Canada's economy, making clear he views August 1st as a new deadline to reach a trade agreement with Trump. The president's economic team is out with a report saying prices of imported goods have fallen in an effort to discredit forecasts of tariff-induced inflation. However, the bulk of the president's tariffs have been temporarily lowered to 10% for the past 3 months, as he pointed out last month.
They haven't even kicked in yet.
83% of companies expect to raise prices in the next 6 months, according to a new KPMG survey of 300 C-suite executives. And about 3/4 are already passing on some costs to customers. Higher prices could also come from moving production to the U.S. CEOs like Hasbro's say their products would cost more because American labor is more expensive.
If you buy an action figure or a doll for $10, you would have to charge $15 to $18 just to maintain the same absolute profit dollars for the company.
President Trump eyeing tariffs in more industries to push for domestic production. 50% on copper and potentially 200% on pharmaceuticals. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Najjar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Over 1,300 State Department employees are getting laid off by email today. It comes after the Supreme Court cleared the way for the Trump administration to proceed with the layoffs. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's reorganization proposal includes cutting domestic staff by 15%, or roughly 3,400 people. It also seeks to close multiple offices and consolidate others. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there's a good chance President Trump and China's president will have a meeting. Listen.
I don't know President Xi, but I know President Trump, and I can tell you that he's committed to having that meeting happen. So the reason why I think there's high odds of it happening is they both want it to happen.
Rubio's comments come after meeting with his counterpart, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. They talked as the last day for a Southeast Asian security conference wrapped up in Malaysia. The U.S. and China have had tensions over a range of issues, from trade to accusations that China supports Russia's war in Ukraine. Speaking of Russia's relentless assault on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure continues. Kyiv was hit with missiles and drones for 10 hours overnight, killing at least 2 people and causing fires all across the city. A maternity hospital was hit in an attack on Odessa, killing at least 2 others. President Trump says he's aware and, quote, "You'll be seeing things happen." Meanwhile, a bipartisan bill to slap Russia with new sanctions has President Trump's attention. It calls for a 500% tariff on goods imported from countries that buy Russian oil, gas, uranium, and other exports. The senators want to vote on the bill before the August recess. Secretary Rubio says the White House wants to see what the bill looks like.
Obviously, the president needs flexibility on how those sanctions would be applied and when, because it gives them, maximum leverage in any conversation and negotiation. So he has talked about that as being a real option.
Existing sanctions on Russia have done little to cripple its war machine. Trump has become growingly annoyed by Vladimir Putin's refusal to wind down his war. Over 850,000 Ford and Lincoln cars are being recalled because the low-pressure fuel pump could fail, causing the engine to stall. The recall covers certain Ford Broncos, Explorers, and F-150s, and Lincoln Aviators and Navigators, all of recent model years. Drivers may notice reduced engine performance or power or a check engine light. Ford does not yet have a solution.
People were screaming, and I got down quickly, fortunately, because I think they shot 8 bullets. And one got me, and one got another one, and one got another one, and one killed Corey, the firefighter, great guy. And, we had a tremendous, massive crowd. Tens of thousands of people were there. And our sniper, within less than 5 seconds, was able to get him from a long distance with one shot. If he didn't do that, you would have had an even worse situation.
Sunday will mark 1 year since the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, and investigations are still underway into the security failures and the sniper. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson says he plans to issue subpoenas to the FBI and Justice Department. In the other assassination attempt against Trump, suspect Ryan Routh told a judge this week he wants to ditch his lawyers and represent himself. The judge said she does not plan to delay the trial, slated to begin in September. He has also been asking from jail to be traded for a hostage in another country. He said he wants to have a swift and useful death. You might be surprised at a few things that age quickly. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares what's on the list.
Hey there, everybody. Most of us know that certain habits can add years to our life, but a few, it appears, can also go the other way. For example, aerobic exercise with water workouts or even walking can add healthy years to your life. But skipping strength training in between, especially for leg strength, can take years away. Leanne Clift reminds us of this. She's the events and program manager with Ohio's Life Enriching Communities and a Fit Minds cognitive coach.
It helps your balance, it helps your brain. It prevents falls. It keeps those muscles really moving and limber.
In addition, a few other habits linked to fewer good years include not taking days off from work, which can lead to burnout, sitting too much every day, not staying socially connected to others, and not being willing to learn new skills or hobbies.
We do different card clubs, game clubs. We even do glass blowing classes along with art classes.
Finally, not seeing a dentist for regular checkups, not protecting your hearing, and being negative can all also harm the brain and reduce healthy years.
The more you do, the more active you stay, the more you're working those different parts of your brain.
Now, one other note, in these warmer temperatures, not staying hydrated has also been linked to fewer healthy years. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
The power of positivity, like that one. Coming up next year, the growing volunteer project, a mother and son started to clean up a popular canyon in Utah. We'll be right back with more. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America. And we start in Florida, where new research sheds light on the frequency of human trafficking.
The University of South Florida has a human trafficking research lab known as Tipster. It estimates that 500,000 Floridians are being trafficked and 200,000 of them are being used as sex slaves. Dr. Shelley Wagers is the assistant director of Tipster. She helped spearhead the effort.
The gist of the report is a lot of trafficking is happening in Florida. And the myth is it's not in our backyard. There's trafficking in every county in Florida.
With Interstate 10 running right through Northwest Florida, Tappan says it's easy for children and adults to be used for sex or labor. and simply disappear.
Utah, known for its beauty, much of which you'll find in American Fork Canyon, such as Tip of Fork Reservoir.
We come probably like 2 or 3 times a year.
Poria Najad paddleboards all over the state, and he's well aware of the trash problem in what should be pristine locations. After seeing the amount of trash in the area, Shannon and JJ Payne decided together to do something about it.
It just looks so ugly when all the trash is there.
They came up with American Fork Canyon Cleanup. For about a year, they've come up with bags and gloves and pick up as much trash as they can.
Wildlife in an Attleboro neighborhood, keeping residents on high alert.
Been kind of, looking everywhere, not going in the woods right now.
After Attleboro city officials posted this on Facebook, warning of a snake believed to be a venomous copperhead in the city and reportedly bit 2 dogs. It has over 1,000 shares. We reached out to Mass Wildlife, who said they haven't confirmed reports of a copperhead in the city of Attleboro, and they never have, so they believe this is most likely a case of misidentification, adding that very few people will ever encounter a copperhead in Massachusetts by accident. Mass Wildlife snake experts saw a photo of what's believed to be the snake in question and identified it as a northern water snake.
Coming up, a major musical tour is coming. When Mr. Paul McCartney will join us and perform in the U.S., we'll have that right after this. Beatles legend Paul McCartney is stepping on the stage again with tour dates in the U.S. Sir McCartney is set to perform 19 shows, kicking things off in Palm Desert, California, September 29th, and wrapping up in Chicago in November. This is his first tour in the States since 2022. Pre-sale tickets start on Tuesday, and the general public sale starts next Friday. I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty popular. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening at 10 as we have more on President Trump's visit of the devastation in Kerr County, Texas. I'm Dee Dee Gatton here in Washington. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you tonight.